And one of the is the statement from our auditor.
Well, that's for a policy,
Right.
so we're gonna work on that, but I think we're
I think basically, this is just to have a general discussion about fund balance levels. And how we want to address
This is all adjustments right now.
everything's done. This was, because the AUD got filed last week. And actually, I don't think anything really changed from the initial one that we gave you earlier in February. But we wanted to wait till the AUD was done. I got it actually. Here. I don't anticipate that we're necessarily going to be in a position where we have Mark to make a decision about the requests that were brought forward at the end of the year, first of the year, with regard to equipment.
Well, a lot of changes in fund balance result from the year end. And I looked at the year end just to see what sort of variances there were and what we were accumulating. It'd be nice to have a little bit of explanation on
Thanks,
some of
Bob.
that before we go, an explanation on some of the variances. Like a lot of under expenses occurred, for instance, in the pension fund.
No, they didn't. There's a portion.
It shows it in December.
Right, it
Where
does,
at?
but that proportion is what gets
Charged.
accrued. Accrued, when we close the books, accrued as a payable, because of the way, see you, John, because of the way the retirement system billing, there's there's accounts payable that have to be established
Okay.
before we finalize.
So I can't see
No.
the things. It'd still be useful
Like
to
an
know,
encumbrance is what it is.
useful to know in the end, after all that stuff's been cleared out.
What's what? So would it,
What were the big reasons for a difference between budget and actual?
Yeah.
Yeah. What were the biggies? Now, it's not the pension.
no,
Line.
so maybe it
You
would.
know, street maintenance we know is a biggie. At least it looked like it was, unless there was a lot of,
No, it was.
yeah, there was a lot left in that one.
Mhm.
And, you know, the question is, what did we get done, and
So would it be
are we saving
helpful,
it, and stuff like that.
right, so would it be helpful if you had a copy of the year-end, I don't even know what I want to call them, but all of the adjusted entries and the things that were set as payables? Okay,
Really, you probably got 20 major differences, not too many variances,
okay.
accounting for the difference between budget and actual.
Okay.
Pluses and minuses here and there
Or your vote.
yes. are
So you want the
good.
big ones?
So you're going for the big ones,
The
is
big
what you're
ones,
saying, the big
okay.
ones, the big
We
ones.
can
There
probably.
was 60,000 contingency was spent. Yeah, some stuff like that. Okay.
Oh,
Be useful. Yeah, the reason for the under expense or the over revenue or whatever.
That's somewhat separate from this legal budget.
Well, it accumulated, but it created a difference.
It does.
Yes.
We won't have a variance for how this came in as opposed to what we projected, because we didn't budget. We don't budget for this premium.
Fund balance, year-end fund balance.
No, that's true, no. So I
Okay.
definitely agree.
But it still
I mean,
affects,
I
it
do
affects the
think-
request that we're going to be dealing with.
So you're basically looking at what was budgeted for everything.
That's where I was headed.
And
Okay.
what it
I
actually.
agree with
paid
you.
in.
We don't budget up.
So,
At this point, we don't.
so you're just looking for the budget and what the
Yeah,
difference
well,
was.
yeah.
Especially if it was in the black, not the red.
Yeah.
I was just trying
because that changes the fund balance then.
Yeah, the link is,
Not so hard.
I had it in the wrong spot, yeah.
Because to some extent, we had already decided in that thought where we thought a comfortable place for these ends to be, and we would go from there. So,
Different
the budget,
issue.
we
Right,
had-
right, right.
we have established this was what comfortable was.
With
And
my,
With regards to,
And balance in each of these.
Yeah.
And we did, so,
I think at budget time, we did
We did,
discuss it. And it seems like, I should get back to the picture, but it seems like there was something that spoke to what
let's
we,
bring that back.
I gotta find it, what we proposed, depending on how the fund balance shook out.
Right.
What we proposed, we
Yes,
might
we did
fund
that.
to,
Yes.
Right, we
reserve for highway
didn't go
equipment.
to the reserves yet.
Right, because
Right.
that,
We're talking about what they should have left for them, is that what we're reading?
well, this right here tells you what our fund balance
Right.
amounts are.
Right?
And then if
So,
we take
block
that,
out area total fund now, 121,891.
yes,
You did, we know the magic number of 125.
I don't remember.
We did,
Okay,
we did.
We did?
Yes.
Good.
I don't remember.
Well, yeah, let's
I don't
bring that
remember
back
that.
in.
I mean, I remember.
I know, we had a million, one quarter of it.
Right.
Well, that's
For
like 3
op-
months.
For
That was
3
3
months
months.
worth of operating.
25%.
Oh, yeah, we did 3 months, if we're doing that, which is the comptroller's suggestion, that we do 3 months of operating in that.
No less than
fund.
2. Yeah.
No less than 2, and, yeah,
What?
and that's what you want to keep in there.
What'd you say?
We all,
We did.
Well, we just didn't
We
put it
did.
right in, I forgot. How's that?
And Sue did a whole big thing on this too, remember? She did a whole big thing on where we were right then, et cetera,
Yeah,
et
she
cetera.
did a projection, which is something that we do every year during budget, right?
So, I mean, we should do that, because it should tell us what we have, what we extra. If we have extra.
make sense?
That kind of thing would then go into a policy.
yes.
Yes, 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 absolutely.
Okay, the 25%
But this is what we
that
want
we
to see.
discussed
Mhm.
then becomes eventually part of the policy.
But I think
You're
that
supposed to have fund balance policy.
policy, that was one of the recommendations from the independent audit. And the comptroller's, yes, and the comptroller's office would,
They like that.
They
They
looking
talked
for
I
about
think
that.
ASME 54 they sent around says the
Yeah.
same thing.
yeah.
And when we went to that training we went to with Sue, they also suggested that we have a policy. So we can
We
certainly
have
do
no
that.
policy.
We do not have a fund balance policy, we've never had a fund balance.
But you've come a long ways with this.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Probably near the county.
mirror the county.
So that leaves the reserve policies.
Mhm. Then we have to do
Because the
policies.
reserves are part of what's sitting here.
Mhm.
That's right.
That's where you get your reserves. And there's going to be some discussion.
And, yeah. What do we want in general as a minimum and what do we want for specific purposes?
Mhm.
What's the basis?
I think we should put something together and get some suggestions.
I think that's probably the easiest.
That'll be the easiest, and then we can,
The meetings didn't seem to be of interest.
you know, I think we should do that.
Or board meetings.
Throw, yeah, I mean, so we can do that.
And I think it's part of
Everybody has a
this.
reserve book, right, the control. Didn't we give everybody?
Yes, we did.
Is it green? It's color.
Yes. It's reserves. Would you have $10? I want in the office. You put your name on it. Because they do talk about the reserves, how you establish them, et cetera, et cetera.
And I think part and parcel of what goes hand in hand with this is the town board establishing its, I don't know what to call it, policy or practice
you're supposed to have a policy for that.
Yeah,
Frankly,
no, I know, but the reserves have backed me for 22 years.
Well, we're gonna
But
have that.
if we ever accomplish a 5-year or whatever replacement, capital. Come on, you guys.
Now let's be honest, we're not trying to be negative
It's
about
gonna
it.
happen.
Yes, you are.
Well,
No, I realize
you know what
that.
I'm saying, I mean, for 7 years, I've tried to implement a 5, a 10, and a 15-year plan.
I know, we'll do it.
And
And I'm with him, I try to do the same thing with you guys, and you don't wanna listen.
it's frustrating, I mean, of course, I'm here tonight because I need a minute to talk about some issues that we've got going on right now, so.
Well, we can, everybody dive into the reserve book because it tells you how to do these things. Some of them you actually do need a resolution on to have that particular fund. And the reason you do this is so you know going forward what you have to have every year, just to do the things you have to do. And it's a really good, I taped the last meeting that Sue and Sharon and I went to. Not the last one we went to, but the one before that. And he explains it all in such good language. I should make a copy of it and just give it to everybody. He's very loud, so you can understand it, that's for sure.
You would come here.
And he would come here.
Is a guy from the comptroller's
Yeah.
office,
And I assume you meant referendum.
Albany or Binghamton?
They all have,
he was from the,
Yeah, they all require,
require.
but some of them don't have referendums.
But
Well-
he presented for the New York State Government Finance Officers
All of them
Association.
do, it's just a question, well, there's very few that don't, what we're talking about, all of
They
them.
would, they
It's
would,
just a
right.
question of whether the referendum happens at the time you set up the fund, or at the time you expend from it.
So let me ask you, how do we know,
They're specific for type, for
Right,
funds.
right.
and if it's a specific, it's.
Then it's subject to permissive referendum at the time you establish the fund.
Right, so that
Right.
would be the,
If it's a type fund, you don't need a referendum to establish the fund, but
You
you need
need-
a referendum to expend
And
from
this
the
is,
fund.
don't forget, this is also a permissive referendum. No,
well, if you.
It means we have to get a petition.
to vote.
Somebody has to sign a qualifying petition.
People in the board of
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a few variations, but yeah, that's pretty much exactly it. It usually takes a petition duly authenticated in the form of a nominating petition under the election law bearing the signatures of 5% of the resident population of the
I
town
would assume the fire hall.
that
is
are qualified
subject to
electors,
permissive
meaning they
referendum
voted in the
too,
last
to put their
gubernatorial
building up,
election.
and even though it was a
Doesn't
capital
make any
fund.
sense, but that's how it
But
works.
nobody got a petition up. The other thing is, and he states in there that even though you have money in these funds, you can get them out. If you absolutely have to have them out, there's a means to get them. So it's not like they're stuck in there and we're gonna go,
If you have a
bankrupt
specific
because
fund
you
and
can't
you
touch it.
have to use the money for something else,
can.
you can get to
you can
it.
get to it, yeah.
The one thing that I.
It's just, but it's gonna, you have to jump through some hoops to do
Yes.
it, and it's gonna be subject to referendum as well.
If you go through the first scenario where the referendum for establishing the account, when
Right.
you do that, are you establishing an amount you're trying to get to as well?
Well, it depends on the nature of the account, and under what section of the general municipal law you establish the account. But, for example, you can have what's called a type fund, where you just have a fund for building repairs. It's not specific to any one building, it's just whatever comes along that you might want to spend money on to do major repairs for a building. And you can set that up very easily, you can fund it relatively easily, but if you decide that you want to spend $50,000 out of that fund to replace the town hall roof, that's going to be subject to the due publication and posting of a notice of permissive referendum. If you establish a specific fund, not a type fund, not a general building fund, but a specific fund called Town Hall Roof Replacement Capital Repair Fund.
For Newtown Hall.
Right. Then that is a specific fund. The notice of permissive referendum is established at the time you set it up. And the parameters of what you're allowed to put in that fund, it's not an unlimited sinkhole.
Right.
There's a cost established for what that specific fund is. Let's say you know it's gonna cost $100,000. You decide to establish that. Right, but there are some funds that have pretty much open-ended limits, like a tax equalization fund.
You can have a fund to, yeah, to keep the tax rate down too. One of the things, I mean, for instance, the type fund, one of the reasons is subject to permissive referendum is, say we decided we want to get everybody a car or something, Well, you better believe that would be something. We'd have people with petitions out there. They did it to the police bureau, I think. No, you can't buy everybody a car. That kind of makes sense, because it is open-ended, it is, but,
Well, yeah, I mean, you'd run into a constitutional issue there regardless of
Right.
your rules about reserve funds.
But I
No, I've
think,
gone through a lot of referendums on this type of stuff in field buildings, new highway barns, that went to referendum, when Caroline built the town hall, that went to referendum.
do they get a permissive referendum? They actually.
Yeah, oh yeah, everything goes to referendum in Enfield. It seriously does. I think probably 50% of everything that's noticed for a permissive referendum, they end up with a vote on. I think actually this town hall is substantially smaller than what the town arguably needed because it went to referendum and the residents voted it down. That's too expensive, so they pared down and shrunk the town hall, and then everybody approved it, and here you are, 10 years later, and hey, it's too small. Yeah.
They save money on growth though.
Yes, they did.
Oh,
This is proof of some of the problems with the lowest responsible bidder rule. Okay.
but I think that if this board
Sometimes they're cheaper for a reason.
can set us on a path with a fund, or with a reserve fund policy, then we will be able
to do
to
it.
more effectively do what you guys have been asking for. No?
So let's follow.
There has to be a will.
Well, because
No, and I agree, but by the time this gets established and set up, we're how many more years behind though already? That's where the problem comes in.
Well, you gotta have an
This-
initial amount.
If
Well,
our,
yes.
if our reserve fund was to a certain point, and it wouldn't be that high for our department.
Right.
I wouldn't come to the board for anything as far as equipment. I would be self-sustainable and not even go to the taxpayers for any
If
money.
annually there was a commitment made,
Right.
And there, hence, I would be the same thing.
Exactly.
You
My
gotta have-
amount's a lot more money, but
Exactly.
I've explained this, I don't know how many years, and I just keep getting
There has
farther
to
and
be-
farther
The
behind.
thing is, there has to be a will to do it.
Right.
And because some people, no, there has to be a will to do it, and some people really feel that it's better just to have a chunk of money and have you come and beg for it.
Well,
And that's not the way it should be. No, that's really what goes on.
no,
I was there.
there's never been anything requested ever that's ever been, this is what we're looking for in the budget. It's always, well, let's wait and see. There's never been any sort of, 22 years that I've been here, there's never been a commitment to do anything other than make the poor sap that runs the place up there come down here and beg on his hands and knees
I have to
to provide a service
I
that
have to
everybody in town
dispute
raised
that,
for.
because I think under prior administration, a ways back,
Yeah, so Jeff Cleveland, Paul Barton, well, 2 years, the board committed to $160,000. The board changed a couple hands, all done.
Yep.
So 2 years out of 22 years that I know of, they made a commitment. But that 160,000 then would be like 320 now.
right?
So, but keep in mind, we can go back through and look at what we've expended since then, and you'll find out how far behind we really are. So, that's what brings me here tonight. I put a small email out about a 1-ton that we were looking to replace. Well, we've got bigger problems right at this point in time, because with the 10-wheeler that we started out with last budget season looking to replace is on borrowed time at this point. So it has to go in for some elusive testing here in the next few days when the weather breaks. But we're looking at, this is probably $10,000 to $20,000. It's got major motor issues. So, there again, there's where the stuff starts to bite you. And in lieu of the winter that we've had, we got a shop that looks like a scrapyard right now anyways, is the problem. So, it's just, there's stuff available, but I don't know, I mean, we talk about a fund balance and all this stuff, I mean, I don't know where it's at, but, I mean, I have an opportunity to still look at replacing that 10-wheeler and probably saving roughly $14,000 to $15,000 on the vehicle price versus, you know, if we ordered one in the fall or something, looking at next year, on top of the, say, if it's $15,000 to repair the one that we've got, you know, it's a $30,000 swing here either way. So I mean, when we look at 200 or 230, I don't know. You know, I guess that's what I'm asking is, kind of hoping that we turn some extra money back in that, you know, that you were talking about. I mean, that's a rare occasion because the fact is, we just ran out of time to complete work. So, and you know, with that, we took on a couple bigger projects there, hence, you know, so I say the $200,000 I'm asking for a truck is, there was at least $250,000 of savings to the taxpayer for a couple projects that were done. You know, so.
So the original request for 60 to 80 is.
Right, I'm asking for 203. If there's any way we could, yeah, I mean, it's a matter of being money ahead.
Later.
Right, so.
All right, well, we're gonna have to sit down and look at this. This is the bottom line. We're gonna have to look at this. We're gonna have to look at the fund balances, see where we are. We can't keep doing this. We just can't. I mean, if we have another winter like this.
Oh, no, I know, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm just back doing it last meeting, turned something great. That's the first time we've done it in 10 years. That's what we're down to for a backup.
What?
You know, and that's 1985 graders. So.
Winter can't add any time to.
Right, I mean, Lord help us, that it's gonna be gone here soon enough, but
Yeah.
it's already took its toll. I mean,
It has. It's taking. So we'll look at this.
You can test one of the trucks in my driveway, see if it plows
We
good.
should look at this.
Okay.
Anybody who has input.
No, I was there in
And,
2004,
then we'll all get
2005,
together
when
and
you explained
see
what
if
the
we have
useful
some
life
thoughts.
of the truck was, and when you get maximum value in terms of taking it to auction, and what you need per year per truck to replace it on a regular schedule, and what you save in mechanic costs and repairs if you do that.
I don't think we should. No. we
So I
shouldn't.
remember that from like 10, 11 years ago, so.
Mm. We gotta look at this. Yeah. So we have to do a little bit of work.
I'm only asking for 13.8.
$13.80? Oh, okay. All right, well, we gotta look at this. For sure.
With my situation, and I'm sure you all got the email, that I'm in a fine window right now where I'm not as busy as they are right now, but my equipment's going to be very busy here shortly. So I can't let this drag out much longer. I kind of need to know whether I'm going to get that money or not get that money in order to prep equipment for sale or not prep it for sale.
Well, in all honesty, I mean, 200,000. We gotta think about this.
But I turned in, I think, a little over $16,000, and I'm asking for 13.8. So
It's not a rollover budget.
I realize
It's not
that.
your money.
I realize that.
I hate to tell you.
No, and we realize it's not our money, but
But we think.
it's a risk reward thing though that we're preached to for years too. That you know we do our best to
Absolutely.
toe the line and save the money where we can and stuff. And it just you know it's a little disheartening that you know I mean we do our best day in and day out to do the right thing for the town and you know help keep the taxes down and
I think, to me, the bottom line is that at budget time, when you come forward with this stuff, that's when the board needs to say, they need to commit one way or the other.
I agree 100%. But we've tried this for the last several years
I
and it's
know,
well let's wait and see where we're at.
I know.
Well, here's where we're at, the point of the year where we see where we're at, and we still don't know where we're at. So, all I know is, you know, it's not greed, it's the point being is we talk about this nice, healthy fund balance we had. I mean, if we had to take $200,000 out of that fund balance at this point and look at recouping that 200 back into that fund balance over the next 2 years, or bond it, I don't care, take it from our budget and pay a bond payment. I mean, it's a fact of, at what point do we want to get, you know, if we went another week and a half where we've been the last 4 weeks, you know, people are more than happy and satisfied with the conditions of the road and all that stuff, but if we had another week the way the last week and a half's gone, it ain't gonna be pretty, you know, and then what about, you know, people can call and complain and say, I can't help, you know what, I got 9 trucks out here, but you know what, I got 3 of them that run. Well, why is that? Well, I don't know. Maybe come to the board meeting and find out why they won't fund the equipment. You know, I mean, like I said, when you're down to something that's a 1985 is your only source of backup, you know, it's just, we got out of that era when we got rid of all the old Oshkoshes and FWDs and, you know, I mean, it's just.
If I follow you though, the piece of equipment you're talking about now isn't what you were even talking about at budget time anyway.
Well, when we originally talked about budget, we had a 10-wheel plow truck.
Right.
We started out the budget with.
And a one.
And one. And it was, we'll see where we're at. And here it is March, and we still don't know where we're at. And you know, they're again frustrating to me because I do my best to do everything in the best interest of the town. Like I said, I personally know at least $250,000 was saved to the taxpayers by projects we did. And I don't see why it's a reason to not say, hey, we should reward this department. Look at the money they saved over here. Because you could have spent that money when they've been already gone. I'm saying instead of spending it, giving it away to contractors or whatever, we're using it to reinvest in ourselves. That's why we do what we do. You know, I mean, it gets to the point where the incentive says, why bother? You know, do we want to just start being like the average highway department that says, we dig a ditch and we plow snow. Other than that, don't want to talk to you.
The majority of our money that was left over is due to them also, because I save money on labor, not hiring a job out to someone else like D Squared Construction and giving it to the highway guys who bangs it out and save me a ton of money in labor.
Well, I'm just saying we can't make this decision tonight. This is the thing. We need to look at this. I'm not saying we won't do it, but I think we need to look at this. We need to look at the fund balance. And we also need to look at going forward because we just can't be hit with this all. I thought the 10-wheeler you didn't use now. I thought you
well, no, and we didn't. I mean, this is something
So this is just something that happened.
Right, this is where we're at, and it's like, do we waste $35,000 if we're looking at gonna be able to order something in the fall? I mean, there's an opportunity for a truck that meets specs on the lot that'll save us $14,000 at least by purchasing that versus having to order one because the cost increase always when you order something.
Now let's
This actually, the expense on this would be like, it's roughly $2,000 more than the one we paid for 2 years ago. So, I mean, in terms of, we were looking at 220 is the budget price, so we're 203. I mean, it's $17,000 that's clear savings. You know what I mean? It's easy to say, but.
We can't wait and see I can't wait and see either. The prices I have are good now. They're not good and I've held them since I
But
gave you
your
the
equipment
numbers.
isn't breaking down either.
True. But
You've got equipment that's in good shape.
Right.
Granted, you'll get a little more for it if you sell it now, and you've got a year less and X number of hours less on it, but comparing the two, you're not in the same
my
space.
problem is then I'm gonna come to you next year and ask for this equipment and this equipment, and I won't get either one, and I'll be that much farther behind.
Well, now
But you got a tractor that really wasn't figured in a couple of years ago, so, you know, we have to, you know,
I didn't know the board said what you said.
no, I didn't, so,
That
anyway.
was it.
yes, they did.
Oh, yeah, no, it's been that's been the common practice for the last 10 years.
Well, that was the way, yes,
I mean, I've been here, I came down and begged and pleaded for a loader 5 years ago, 6 years ago. You know,
It's been
because the window was closing on
The
it.
end
and-
result is
Yes.
Yes.
I don't
The end
remember
result is
saying
yes,
that as the
exactly.
policy.
No, that wasn't said as a
I don't
policy.
remember the board saying we're going to adopt a wait and see policy.
They
Well,
don't.
no, it's never been a
actually-
policy, it's just always been,
Well, it's practice, I hear
right,
it, it's
it's
practice.
just, well, we'll see where we're at.
And Patrick, you know, as far as your situation is concerned, what I envision would happen is based on discussion and decisions at the board level, that fund balance, some fund balance would be allocated to the Parks and Rec Equipment Reserve to get you to a point where next year,
You're on track.
But
and then
again,
next year.
Again, I caution you on what you're saying right now, because that's been said before.
I
and
understand
that's not what happens.
Well, I don't have a vote in that.
We're gonna give it a try. I've been trying to do this for 3 years. We're gonna give this a try. The old college try this year. That's why we've gone to courses, that's why we've listened to people. But the whole board has to agree to it. That's the bottom line. Or we can go out and just say, oh my God, we need this, let's buy it. It's a really,
Or let's go borrow the money, or
it's a
let's.
really
lease
dumb way to do it, because I don't think we have to.
Well,
I don't
absolutely
think we
don't.
have to do
And
that.
that's the whole thing, I mean, you know, when the board changed a little bit before, I know there was some big criticism by some of the people that came in on the board about when we bonded the equipment when we did. But we were already 5 or 6 years behind at that point, and when the board says, look, we can do this, or you're gonna have to sit back for 4 years or so and wait and see what happens. Well, so what am I gonna say? Well, all right, well, we'll, you know, if we're down to 2 trucks in that next 4 years, then we'll, I guess.
So it sounds to me like we need to get together with you. We need to make a plan going forward to see how much we can use of the money we already have. And maybe, in fact, we will have to bond to get on track for a couple pieces of equipment or something. We have to somehow get on track.
Well, let me ask you, what's in the equipment reserve right now? I know there's been money.
$4 and something cents.
Really? There should be more than that, because supposedly we've been putting 50 grand a year away for a grade off for the last 4 years that I was told.
Well, who told you that?
It's not in a reserve account.
See, that's the problem.
Well, exactly.
That's
So
the
in my mind,
problem.
there's $200,000 in a reserve account that's buying us time for this grade all that we have to
Absolutely
purchase down the
not.
road.
Whoever
Well-
told you that, mistold you.
Well, right, but that's the whole point. I mean, don't take this personal, but I look at it as the board as a whole has done nothing but blow smoke up our behinds.
I
For the
don't,
last, I mean, because, I mean, we sit here and we have these conversations year in and year out at budget time. You know, I presented a 5, a 10, a 20-year plan, I don't know how many times, with numbers of the equipment replacement stuff, you know, and I'm told, yeah, we're socking 50 grand a year away towards this grade also, and we gotta replace that, we don't have to worry about it.
consider the source.
I'm just saying, it's part of the board.
I think,
So,
That's
I
all,
think the
yeah,
discussion
he's
was
got a
that
point
we
there, it's
should.
also part of the
The
board.
discussion was by some of us that we should be doing that.
Right.
Did it come to fruition? No.
right, but the fact of the matter is, for the last 3 years, I've been
Gotcha.
told that's the money that's being put in there for that. So,
That's a bold-faced lie.
well, but there again, so that's what I'm saying.
All
I'm
you have to do is
asking,
look at the budget.
right, I'm asking to do, well, I don't see the reserve accounts. So in my mind, there's been 50 grand a year getting stashed away, because that was part of,
The only way that would happen is, it would be by board resolution, after the books are closed for the year and the AUD is filed. So if you have not seen, and it has not been done, so whoever's.
right, but
so look-
there again, in the last 8 years that I've been privy to a lot of the stuff, I've never once ever seen any of that stuff myself. anyway.
All we can do is try
No, I
and do this
understand.
going forward. We need to see where we are, what position we're in, what we have to spend, quite frankly, and if what the needs are and what the immediate needs are. And if we end up, we have to bond for something, we're gonna have to bond for something. We need to put everybody on a good footing going forward, and then try and get these reserves established so that we can do that. But it has to be the will of the board. They have to want to do it.
Well, absolutely, and like I said, if anybody remembers, 2 years ago during budget time, you know, and I said, obviously we don't want to bond money if we don't have to. I truly believe the town of Lansing doesn't need to bond money to have what we need. But, like I said, when I laid out a plan that said, you know what, if you give me $300,000 for 2 years, and you guarantee $150 for after that, that there again, we'd be in a situation where I wouldn't be here begging or pleading to say I need to do this, the nuts covered, you know, but we can't bond. But I said, with that bond money, I would use part of that 150 guarantee if the bond payment was 30,000, so that means I would have 120. I can make all that work, that it's borrowed money, but it's still not, you know, it's not above and beyond. to
Okay,
make
so
it
what I would like to do is how about you come down and sit with us, and we'll go over what your needs are, what your immediate needs are, the price tag on these immediate needs are, and then let's look, so we'll look at 2015 immediate needs, we'll look at 2016, 17, 18, we'll look at that chart, and we're gonna have to decide how we're gonna do this. I think the fund balances have been looked at as just a big pot of money. And we go to them when we want to get money out. Oh yeah, that's basically what it is.
Right.
It truly is not the way to do budgeting.
Oh, absolutely.
Not on
I
this
know that.
scale. At home, it's probably fine. But most people
I would-
even at home
I would
have
do that at home.
well, no, not that much. But I'm saying, you want to buy a new car and you don't want to pay for it, or you don't want to, borrow, then you have a car fund, right? And sometimes you have it, right? We have a vacation fund. Otherwise, we have to charge our darn vacation, which is a lot of interest. I have a Christmas fund. That kind of stuff makes sense. And on this scale, it makes even more sense.
I thought we laid out a plan to take some of the ending balance and.
We did. We talked speculatively.
And now we need to sit down,
We all promised to meet after the first of the year and start.
and this is
putting
what I
the
tried to
plan
do.
together.
So, no, we need to sit down, and we need to do, but we
So
need to
those
do it
have-
with you,
Right,
because
well,
things have changed.
so my question is, when the fund balance, everything claps back into the fund balance before you file a
Different fund
report.
balances, yeah.
So
Admitted.
that's a supervisor thing, the board's
There
not
was a
privy to.
discussion.
No,
That wasn't.
Well, no, and that's what I wondered, so we filed a
I did
report,
not
but it
take
sounds to
that.
me like clearly most of the board doesn't have any
I
idea what money was
Go and do it.
put back where.
It has to be the
That's-
board action.
Yeah, I was under the impression that this was a board decision also.
It is,
Right, so,
But it's
but,
already been done.
right,
what's been done?
the money's been clapped back in and the report's been sent to the comptroller.
This
but-
is something completely
Yeah.
aside from that.
So we haven't closed the books yet.
The books are closed, the AUD has been filed. The
We have to
decision
do
of
that.
the board is, do they take fund balance and allocate it, A, for the purchase of a necessary?
So any of the extra money that came in per se, claps into fund balance,
Yes.
correct?
Because that's how it works.
That's
Yes,
correct,
that's
which that's
how-
the way I believe it
And then
does.
what do you do with it? That's the
Right,
next
so
one.
that's all
Right.
my understanding was, is that if it claps into fund balance, that at that point, the board can allocate
Yes,
money from fund balance to
Right.
a reserve account, which, so, that's what I'm saying, depending on,
right.
how much the fund balance might have increased when it
And
got
that's why I
collapsed.
said we need to get together and figure out what you need now,
Right.
what you need going forward, and figure out what we're gonna do with this.
BB.
How much is in fact really there to use, and
No, absolutely, no,
and
that's what I'm saying, I
what we
just,
need to do.
right, I mean, I
And
know,
this just goes to the audit, they just need to know, that
Right.
goes, they have things that can control, it doesn't have, you
No, this is
All
what.
you don't
the-
send anything
All
out.
the audit report does is give the numbers to the comptroller.
Yeah, he
The
doesn't.
comptroller
So-
doesn't have any say
so-
with what
so-
you do
No,
with that
it
in
doesn't.
2016.
so can I ask this question, the books are closed now, how much is the fund balance increased based on what it was prior to the books
Okay.
being closed?
Let's back up a minute. If you look at this, these are actuals. So if you compare actual year-end 2013 to actual year-end 2014, fund balance did not increase.
No.
It went down.
So
Because we use fund balance to keep the tax rate down.
Partially.
Partially, yes.
Keep the tax
We
rate
didn't
down.
spend it on equipment.
No. But see, the hard part is that, and this is not a criticism, it's just an observation, and when you don't work with this as a whole, you don't see the big picture. Now, I'd be happy to give you a copy of this.
No, and I understand, but what I'm saying, if I got $10,000 in the bank, and I get an income tax return for $5,000, I put that in the bank, I got $15,000. I don't have $8,000. You know what I'm saying? So where did the money become less? if we put
You have
money
to
back
factor
in.
in the total expenditures and the total revenues. So you
So-
start with
So
2013.
somebody else went over budget.
Right, that's what I'm saying, so some, there's budgets that are clearly way over,
There's revenue under, see, we.
because if ours are the two main budgets of the
Yes,
town,
and that's
people.
why, and
That's why I was
why
asking for the
she wanted the
for each fund.
explanation of what the big difference
Exactly
is.
what you're talking about.
Right, well, that's all we're trying to make sense of, is how we can have less money if you're too, well, mainly ours being the biggest budget of the town, turned into a substantial chunk, how we should be less in fund balance.
But even your statement is strictly on highway fund, you went there.
Correct.
So that
Yeah.
doesn't even throw into account.
And part of-
711 to 699.
Highway fund DB. But you have to look at the whole
That's
picture
roads,
of
right?
maintenance and improvements
Right.
Sales tax.
Roads.
Okay, DA.
and sales taxes in there. Correct.
Right,
Well,
so even though I turned in
$570.
$83,000,
sales tax.
I'm still $12,000 short, I'm confused about
But
that.
that's because in 2013, there was $265,000 in the equipment reserve.
Okay.
So DA's fund balance, if you're just looking at DA, not including the reserve fund, that went up $84,000 from the end of 2013 to the end of 2014. When you
So would
look-
that be the money that we collapse back in, out of the DB?
No,
Well,
You're looking at the expense lines. and not the
right,
revenue
well, but
lines.
all I'm asking is, if our DB fund, which we turned $83,000 in, how can it be $12,000 less? I'm confused.
I think we need to sit down and show you the whole big picture.
Well, yes, I mean,
It's
I
not,
know what
a-
the big picture is, I mean, there's
You're-
money spent somewhere that doesn't make sense.
no, we'll look at the big picture. I can't even fathom how to explain this right
Well, for
now.
one thing, this has actual,
This
it doesn't
isn't
have
done.
budget. I think if we have, this has actual budget.
Right, these are actuals.
These are
Those are actual,
Not
what's been
budget.
expended.
No,
Actual revenue and expense all lumped together in the DA, and that's what happened.
Okay.
So you take,
So if we spent the $83,000
Mhm.
and didn't let it collapse back in,
it'd be 83.
we would be $100,000 less this year,
Perhaps.
yeah,
but the sales tax went down then?
The sales tax that we budgeted,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to how we used to budget sales tax, the last 2 years, maybe we're in the third year, we budgeted it more realistic. We used to under budget sales tax, so we had this big lump of money.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're not doing it that way
Right.
anymore.
So you're saying what we budgeted, we didn't make in sales tax this year?
We met our sales tax, but you have to look at the whole picture. It's not just about one revenue source
No, I think-
or one expenditure source.
no, I think what we need to do is come in, we need to sit down with you, like I said before, look at what you're, and we'll do this at the same time. Because there's no sense in hashing, we're not getting anywhere.
We're not getting-
No, and I understand we're not getting anywhere, but I just,
But I think we can explain it
But
to you.
Patrick, I want you to understand that, yeah, you may have in most revenue areas exceeded what the budgeted figures were, but you're part of the big general
Oh, I
fund.
understand that, I do.
So you can't look at it like you look at your personal finances.
right, but if he's part of.
But then who's way over budget?
Right,
I
where does
guess
all,
that's the question I have to ask
It
you.
doesn't really matter.
well, it does,
Yeah,
as a taxpayer, it does matter. You know what
No,
I mean?
because at
Just-
the end of the day, a budget is just your best estimate of what you think you're gonna
Oh, and
spend or
absolutely.
earn.
So, and absolutely,
It's
so.
not an exact
Right,
science.
but that's where we're stuck, because I can't just call up and order that
Well,
truck,
no, it may
you know,
not be
and then
that
turn a bill
any
before it's out and
department
say,
is
well,
over.
hey, my best guess estimate was
No,
that.
it may not be that any department is over. It's the electric bills are huge. We have a lot of stuff other than just your department.
Well, right,
Okay, the electric bills are enormous,
right,
absolutely.
but ours is all budgeted.
So
Ours is all part of our budget.
So is ours.
So the electric, the gas,
But if
the
it goes
phone,
over your budget.
but ours isn't.
Ours wasn't that far over.
No, that's what I'm saying, I mean, it just doesn't, I mean, I understand, we're not trying to argue, it's just, it just, I'm trying to fathom that if you were, all those little tiny expenses are all figured in our budget, and we were under, there was only a couple small things we had to do modifications for out of another one of our accounts, but there was money left that was turned in. All those little things you're talking about where the nut was covered on, how do we have less money? So, I mean, that's all I'm saying when it comes to
So
RDB funds, that's,
We'll sit down,
Codes
we'll
and
sit down and
us.
go over this, because we're not gonna come up with we're not gonna come up with
Right.
everything right now. I think we need to sit down and maybe do it with each of you individually, and sit down and look, especially because this is the biggest nut to crack right here. I mean, this, we've
right, and all I say
got
is,
to get control of this,
Right.
is what it amounts
right,
to.
and where my frustration comes in, all I say, I have a tight window where it's a decision whether, is it 20 grand I gotta spend next week on a truck, or is it, you know, am I gonna be able to have this other thing within a month and a half and get by without having to dump that money in, and then I can unload that thing. You know.
I'd like to go over this as soon as possible with his figures, when can you do it?
Tell me, because
Morning?
there is some pressing need here.
Yes, I know, and that's why I would like to just ASAP, quite frankly. And in the morning would probably be the best.
But don't take it as I'm not.
Oh, I have no-
I'm just frustrated.
Well, you have every right to be
It
frustrated.
should have been budgeted, no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
My
Can you
opinion.
just imagine how frustrating it is on this end too?
Oh, yeah, because you have to listen to me every day, I know. Well,
It's all the cars they buy.
We just didn't think we had to do it right now.
I just can't say
This
it's
is
gonna be
the thing.
budgeted.
The urgency.
We were the ones
Pardon?
supposed to be.
Right.
Friday?
right, they have to do
I'm not
that.
gonna
Three of us, they have some.
You can do
That's
it.
right, you're not
Oh,
going
I'm
to
saying.
be. Monday morning?
Right, right.
Late at night?
Well, you said,
I think so, and that'll give Sue and I time to.
where's the 50 grand? It's knocked away over here. Oh, that's right, there's 200,000, I thought we had, but we don't.
I can't do it in the morning.
Jesus, Dad, I don't know who's leaving.
Actually,
It's
Friday.
not us.
I'm busy too.
Appreciate what you're doing.
I know. Personnel. That's fine.
Frustrating.
Monday.
Glad you're speaking up.
Time on Monday?
Yep, Monday's good. Monday.
Fine.
Is that okay, 7:30, okay?
Yeah. 7:30, right, girl?
Okay, sounds good.
Bring numbers too. I don't know what we're gonna get at, but just, you know.
You want, I mean, I've got a lot of them, if you really want all of them, but.
Well, I certainly would
No.
like to see
Like I
the
said,
projection
the
going
200,
down again.
203 is where I'm at, but I mean, I certainly have more information as far as what we're looking at, where the savings can be versus, you know, like I said, we can spend 30 perhaps at this point to save the 200.
And 20.
But the fact of the matter is, next year I'm still gonna need that 200,
Well,
so did I throw 30 out?
Yeah,
That's-
that's what we need to look at.
No, I didn't, but,
Okay,
You're talking two different things. though.
yeah,
That's not, even if we had budgeted, it wasn't for the piece of equipment.
Right.
we're talking about.
right, this is a different,
You can't keep saying.
this is the there.
That's why we can't be
Well, that's why we should be budgeting all along.
Exactly, so that we get it.
That's the other thing.
Go for it.
Okay,
we're on the same.
7:30 Monday.
And some that hopefully are financed. We'll just keep doing it. Which sucks.
What we say, something.
Yeah, that's good.
That's all I can say about it.
So it was lively, thanks for making it lively.
I didn't mean to, I just,
It is what it is.
right, well, I was hoping to come down to see you today at some point, but I just
Well,
didn't get there, so.
Okay. I wouldn't have been able to tell you.
Right, well, no, but I'm
You'll be
saying,
prepared,
just,
you'll be
just to kind of give you the heads up, but I
Maybe
just,
you can-
I
You'll be
mean, just,
yeah.
there's been too many things going wrong, how's that?
I can think of one thing that went right.
Yeah?
Well,
I'm not gonna say. I'll get myself in trouble.
Glad something good happened.
this is, yeah,
We
this
have
is
to
always
find
been the thing
a
that's been on my notes.
Absolutely, that's all we can do, so.
And we're not making
I
this
think
grab
we
up.
said this, what happens, you know, even if you have a budget, even if you have a plan going forward, unexpected things happen.
Right,
That's
well,
what-
that's the thing, but we
That's
seem to
right.
get to the point where we have more unexpected happen
Well,
because we
yeah.
haven't taken care of in the past.
Because we haven't taken care of expected. So, all right, we'll get there.
Why, yes.
We'll get there. Think positive.
don't think at all.
Nothing else, please?
Well, yeah.
Make a donation.
I don't know.
So I'm, just so I'm clear, I'm definitely out for the 13-8.
That's not been decided yet.
No,
How about a chicken?
but you're second in line. We gotta do this.
Maybe I can get Ed to do chicken barbecue.
Doug's fish fry?
Oh, a couple Doug's fish fries.
We'll talk.
Yeah, but you have to sell at least $2,500 worth of
I know.
fish.
I tried to explain that to the clients.
think so,
I'm like, it's more of a hassle than it's worth for you.
Except I love Doug's fish
I do, but it's gotten kind of pricey though.
Has it?
fries. Yeah, and you're right, it's gone up.
Yes.
It's better over at
They
the
what?
I didn't budget for it. I can only do a half portion of salad.
I would buy